Sally, you ready to rock and roll? Okay. It's 5:15. We'll call this regular meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody in the audience this evening. Will you please stand and recite the pledge with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving to letter B, board norms. Diane?
The board developed norms are: decisions will be based on the board's strategic plan, its mission, and what's best for students. The board will act as stewards of tax dollars. Board members will complete foundation work to be prepared for meetings. Meetings will be efficient. All perspectives will be voiced and heard, and all board members will maintain a professional decorum.
Thanks, Diane. Any public communications? None. Moving to conflicts of interest. Any conflicts to declare? Hearing none, moving to consent agenda. Motion to approve. Motion by Gail, seconded by Brenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving into the regular agenda, we have nothing under correspondence. Moving to B, recognition. Gail, would you like to read that?
We do have a couple of recognition. Are you going to have them come forward?
Well, you can probably, I don't, we have no awards or anything, so you can just do.
There's no photo? There's not?
No. But turn your mic on, though.
All right. It's important to recognize peers on the board for their personal and professional accomplishments. Recently, 2 board members have been given great honors that are connected to their positions as community leaders and board members. Mr. Terry Anderson was recently named as the Jamestown Outstanding Citizen of the Year by the Jamestown Chamber of Commerce. It's a great honor that is indicative of Terry's commitment to the betterment of our community. Congratulations, Terry.
Thank you.
At the most recent North Dakota Association of School Administrators Midwinter Conference, Mr. Bob Toso was recognized and awarded the lifetime honorary membership to the NDASA for his commitment and service to education and the superintendent profession. Congratulations, Bob. In addition to these board members, Rob Leck just finished a 1-year term as the president of the North Dakota School Administrators Association. Congratulations, Rob.
Thanks, Gail. Moving to C, reports. Lincoln's PTO report. Shannon?
Hi, my name is Shannon Brown, and I'm here to represent Lincoln PTO. And just a little bit about what we do at Lincoln. We partner with our teachers and our staff, so we always have the principal present at our meetings. Staff, we always have some representation from them. Teachers come with some requests, sometimes some monetary donations asked. Title teachers come sometimes and review their minutes with us. We do some family involvement activities. We had a special person's breakfast, which has been really well received for the last couple of years. We do a family bingo night, which we've kind of created into a little bit of a fundraiser. We're working on a student directory for our school. We do a lot with fundraising. Currently, we're focusing on raising money to add some new playground equipment for our school. We also help with teachers with their field trips and odds and ends, things like that. Prior, we helped with some technology. We helped support some iPads and tablets in our school. A reading program we helped also purchase. We have sometimes parents come to us to address some concerns. We also do a t-shirt. We offer a free t-shirt every other year to the students in our school, and we've started where the students design the t-shirt, so they really have a little bit of a buy into it and they love it. And it's really been a good thing. So those are some of the things that we do at Lincoln PTO.
That special person's breakfast, who usually, a special person in the school or in the community gets invited, or?
We have all of the children can pick their special
Okay.
person. So I think every child has up to 4 special people that they can bring to the breakfast. So it's not just moms and dads. It can be anybody special to them. So.
Okay. Greg?
How many participate as far as parents?
So usually at our meeting, usually I would say we have about 8 consistent people that come to the meeting. I have a long list of people that were interested. It just kind of depends on whether or not they can attend a meeting.
Mindy?
How many fundraisers do you guys do a year?
We try to do one big fundraiser, and then we do a couple little ones. Like I said, the family bingo night, it used to just be to get the family involved, and we started bingo for books. So we use some of our book dollars that we get from when we have the book fair, and then we purchase a bunch of books. And we've started now doing where we auction off or have like a chance drawing for some themed baskets, and then there's a cost for like a pizza, we provide a meal there. So then we have made a little bit on that too, so just a couple.
Heidi?
Shannon, I'd like just to thank you and the rest of your PTO for your dedication, volunteerism, and commitment to education in our district. And also, it sounds like you're working very closely with the school as well and identifying some of those needs in the school. So we appreciate everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Shannon? None? Okay, thanks for coming.
Yep.
Moving to number 2, food service report. Shelley?
Well, it's time for reauthorization of the school nutrition bill. Currently, there has not been anything passed, but we do know that there's a lot of discussion with the School Nutrition Association, USDA, the White House, and the Senate Agricultural Committee. They are looking at different mandates right now. Doesn't look like there's going to be any extra funding for school lunch, but there may be some extra funding for summer meals. They're talking about some flexibility in the current nutrition guidelines, and that would be to ease our operational challenges to prepare these healthy school meals. Some of the mandates that they're talking about, but again, no bill has been passed, but what they're talking about is the current whole grain mandate is that we are to serve 100% all whole grains right now, but they're looking at, they are going to lower it to 80%. And for us in Jamestown, that would be good because we would serve basically regular lasagna and spaghetti noodles. Easier to cook. We're still kind of working with the whole grain noodle and cooking, and so we're happy about that. That'll work good. Sodium, we currently have to meet target 1 sodium levels. And for lunch, for instance, that would mean like K through 5 is 1,230 milligrams of sodium. 9 through 12 would be like 1,420. And that's where we're currently sitting now. I think we're doing well in Jamestown with that target 1. The manufacturers have been fantastic with providing products, a lot of tomato sauces and low salt soups, and it's going pretty well. They are talking about, with the new reauthorization bill, at pushing back target 2 till 219. which I think is a great idea too, because we're still working in the Target 1 area. Target 2 would be, like K through 5 would be 935 milligrams for lunch, the lunch meal, and like 9 through 12 would be about 1080 milligrams. So there's a difference there. I'm glad that they're holding off for a couple of years to let us, continue to work on that and let the manufacturers catch up too. I mean, they're making good strides, but we still have a ways to go on some items. So, in 219, it sounds like before they go any further, there's going to be a study done to see whether we need to drop any further. So, but like I said, Jamestown, we're trying new lower sodium recipes. We're moving away. We're trying to cook more in our kitchens. We are offering a lot of local produce, fresh salads, homemade soups. So, we're continuing to work to those mandates. So, doing good. And then I just wanted, while I'm up here, I thought I'd do just a little report on our farm to school this year. We have had Jonathan Hannah Moser from Streeter since 2014. Before that, well, we've been bringing in local produce since 2008. So, but we did have new farmers come in, Jonathan Hannah, doing a great job. We spent $4,664 this year, and we used a lot of the produce in recipes, on sandwiches, on the salad bars. We had 117 pounds of tomatoes, 454 pounds of cucumbers, 223 pounds of peppers, 278 pounds of zucchini. We did put some of those in breakfast muffins. Kids did really like them. Watermelon seems to be their favorite, and we did 1,164 pounds of watermelon, and that is really their favorite. Cantaloupe, we did a lot of cantaloupe too, 1,600 pounds. Celery, 4 pounds. We tried local. It has a different texture, looks a little different. It actually wasn't bad, but we only did 4 pounds of celery. Carrots, we did 80 pounds, and red baby potatoes, we did 117 pounds. So it went very well this year. They're very easy people to work with, and I just, also our staff, our food service staff, you have to be really flexible, and they're just so flexible at, this is what we have, this is what we're going to use, and so it's just, it really has been really a good program for us. So,
Do we get most of those, from the local producers, the Mosers, that are, they supply the tomatoes and the cucumbers, peppers, and so on, or what do we usually get from them locally, or?
Those are the things that we're getting.
All of them. Okay.
That all came from the Moser farm.
Okay. So, yeah. Terry?
You spoke about whole grains and guidelines for sodium. Are there any guidelines for sugar content in the food we serve?
We do have sugar guidelines for snacks. So, we can't just bring in Oreos, or we do have some guidelines for snacks. And of course we have guidelines for sweets, period. They don't encourage sweets. And if we do, they like us to meet still whole grain. If you're going to bring in a cookie, it's a whole grain cookie. So yeah, there is some guidelines on those types of things. But I wouldn't doubt in the future that we start seeing maybe some stricter sugar guidelines.
With the whole grains, I mean, the kids, I'm assuming, their taste buds aren't for the whole grain versus the 80%. Am I correct there? They'd rather eat not whole grain? Or are they with pastas and so on?
You know, in Jamestown, we started so long ago.
Okay.
We've started so long ago that our kids were eating rotini noodles way back.
Okay.
You know, there's no way you can just do it in one year. We've been doing this for a long time, so.
Diane?
Speaking of the whole grains, I really like the idea of keeping it at 100% since many of these children aren't getting that at home, I'm assuming. And if it's just a matter of a cooking issue, I would think that we'd want to keep to that standard of 100% if we possibly could. I may be a voice in the wilderness on this, but I know at home I've gotten used to cooking with, I know it takes a little bit longer, just a few minutes longer.
Mhm.
But if the kids are accepting it, I just would like to encourage that. And the other comment I would make is the sodium levels seem really high to me. And I find it strange that they have to do a scientific research study to figure out if they should lower the sodium, because I think there's tens of thousands of studies that say we need to lower sodium. So I was wondering who is paying for that study and what does it involve?
I would probably imagine that the government will be in on the study, along with these other, like the School Nutrition Association, the Agriculture Committee, they'll be in on it. But I think we have to have products that are available, products that when you do cook them up, you know, you're cooking for 700, 800 kids, you know, so the products I think they need a few years to still work on some of those products, but, you know, they definitely have made some really good, they've done some really good work, the manufacturers. So I think that will.
Okay. Just to follow up, I want to make it clear that I know that Jamestown isn't doing anything that's not correct. I'm just a little bit startled at how high the guidelines are, and I know that you have nothing to do with that, so I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah. You know, we are moving away from processed, so as soon as you start moving away from processed, we'll get those levels down.
Greg?
Just have one question. Has there ever been any talk about organics or maybe using sea salt instead of regular salt?
I don't think there's not enough knowledge out there yet as to what we should be doing, until it's very clear as to what is available to us. It's also our manufacturing, what we can get off the trucks. And so we have to wait for them. Also, I'm until there's some clear cut, whether it actually is better, it isn't better, because there's a lot of unknowns out there. Our local producers, they're organic to some degree. They try and do as much as they can, but.
Mindy, you had a comment? Or?
Yeah, I, for one, am a big fan of the Farm to School program, and I'm just wondering, is there any sort of educational component with that to the students or to the parents?
We would love that. We really would. And we've been working with the FAARM Farms group in Medina, Sue Belcom. She is our state person, and she has a lot of things available as far as education tools. Also, Jonathan and Hannah are really interested in that aspect, so I would really like to see that in the future.
Bob?
You're not getting any of the locally grown lettuce anymore, are you, since that didn't work out as well?
No, it kind of dissolved.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad. That was a nice product.
Rob, you had a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to make a comment regarding the dietary restrictions and, you know, the 80% versus 100% and all that. You know, I think you just want to recognize, you know, what the food service does, what they have to do to manage those guidelines. You know, you're talking about trying to balance the quality, the quantity, and cost, and trying to make all of those to be in line. It can be a very difficult challenge. And so I think, you know, programs like we were just talking about with the farm to school really give us a chance to do that. I think the food service program has done a really great job with that. And with the 80 to 100%, I think the 80% still provides some options. You know, that there are things that, you know, nobody knows better than you know, than our food service people. Shelley being a dietitian, I think that really is a huge benefit to our district to have a dietitian on staff, and, you know, working to try to find, you know, there's some things that our kids just don't like as well, if it's whole grain, and yeah, pizza crust as an example. There's just some things that kids don't touch on as much, and, you know, and we're really trying to get not just that nutrition, but we also want to get, you know, we want to make a product that our kids want, and so there's a balance there, and I think having flexibility with that 100%, even if that's the majority of what we do, giving more options to our food service is really a benefit, that we can still maintain high standards, but give some choice to people too. So when they're you know, I know what those commodities are. You know, Shelley and I talk from time to time, and you know, having the amount of, like I said, the volume and the work that they have to do to get that product done at a low cost, it's really a big effort, and so any flexibility I think we can provide is good. So
Yeah, I know we just taste tested a different type of baked bean, and $6 less per case. It was awful. So, you know, you really have to, you know, you number one, you want the kids to eat it, and you gotta look at costs elsewhere then. So.
Any other questions for Shelley? Greg?
I just think Shelley does an awesome job with that program and budgets and menus and working with people. So thank you. That's just good stuff.
Gail?
I just want to thank you also, Shelley, for letting the school system participate in the daily, the daily bread program? Yeah. I appreciate that. I know your cooks are committed to that, and I know it comes from the top, so thank you very much.
Okay. Any other comments? Nope. Thanks for coming in. Thanks. Moving to number 3, ELL and homeless reports. Pat? Joan Cromlick and Leah Nilsson also.
Yes. Good evening. I wanted to introduce our ELL staff. They're the ones that make the program happen. You all know Joan Kremlick. She's been with the program since it's really originated here in Jamestown, and she has been doing a fantastic job with the time that she has to lend to the ELL students, being a music teacher also. So I want to commend Joan on that. And we'd like to introduce Leah Nelson. She's student taught with us this fall at the middle school, and she is now our full-time ELL person here for the district, and so we are extremely happy to have Leah with us. She'll be working in the middle school and the high school, and then doing some work with our children at Washington School as well. And Joan will continue to work with the elementary students here too, so they're kind of my backup people here today. My report for ELL starts off, we just had a DPI monitoring visit about a week ago. And I've been here 7 years working with the ELL program. It's really elapsed over time, and I feel we're really on the right track for having a good program for our ELL students here in Jamestown. There's 66 indicators that they look at for our ELL program, and I am pleased to say that we were only had to clarify 3 of those indicators out of the 66. So it's congratulations to Joan and to Leah now helping us with the program. Just quick what we have to work on, and we knew we needed to do this, and I've talked to Mr. Hagelin and Mr. Lecht about this, is more professional development for our teachers, not just our ELL teachers, but for teachers in general, because our students are mainstreamed into the general ed population. So we do know we needed to work on getting some more professional development, and we've started, and we're going to continue to improve on that. One other little thing is they suggested that when we have our parent meetings to go over student results on testing, that we have parent signatures on the form. So we already fixed that. So we have parent signatures. And then at the end of the year, we need to have an evaluation committee, an evaluation task force to look at our program and see what was working well with our students and what we need to improve to make our program even better on that. So that's just a little quick synopsis of that. I do want to thank you for approving the EL handbook that I worked on. We revised it with the new mission statement and the vision statement. So last May you did approve that. So that was one of the great things that they commended us on, was our handbook. You're probably wondering, how do we identify these children? And it's a process, and I thank Amy and her staff here at registration. Every child that enrolls into the Jamestown Public School System has to fill out a home language survey, and this is the home language survey that Joan and I came up with. So I'll just let you have a quick look at that. And every student now that registers fills that out, and we've also backtracked on the students have been here before to also fill out a home language survey so that we have that in the file with them. And if you just look closely at it, the first 2-3 questions asked, the language spoken at home, what your child learns, has learned English in school or another kind of language. So we really, the main thing that Amy looks for is those first questions. And if there's something other than English on that form, then she gets in contact with Joan or myself, and we start the ELL process to see, does the child qualify for the ELL program? And that would be Joan looking at the testing results from another district if they come with testing results, or Joan then right away tests them to see if they qualify for the ELL program. In qualifying for the ELL program, they have to, there's 4 areas. There's, I'll let you speak to it more than you actually test them.
Yep, I test on listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And depending on how they score on those areas will depend on if they will get into the program or not. And it's based on a 1.0 is basically a child that doesn't speak any English. And it goes up to a 6.0 where they're pretty proficient in the English language. They average the 4 areas together. And if they score a 5.0 overall, and in those 4 areas, if none of them are lower than a 3.5, they would not qualify. So they don't have to have a 5.0 in all of the areas, but they have to have at least a 3.5.
Okay, yeah. And so then if the services we provide pull-out services where Joan or Leah will pull out the children to a classroom and work on their English language development, mostly vocabulary. We also have push-in, where the gals will go into the classroom to be some assistance as well. And, of course, they're mainstreamed into the general ed classroom there. We talked about the testing, and Joan does test, and Leah will eventually too, at least once a year. They can be tested. More than that, teacher recommendation, parent recommendation, or whatever, but at least once a year. And we do our testing through the WIDA Foundation. And this year, it's going to be online. So they'll be taking their test with Joan or with Leah on the computer, and that's something new for us. Okay. Also, every year, we meet with the parents and the teachers and go over the testing results and develop a individual learning plan. And what that plan consists of is what services we can provide the ELL students. If we need to provide Spanish dictionaries, if we need to provide textbooks, pull out Title I services, do we need to read the math questions to them because we want to know if they know math, not if they know how to read the math story problems, that sort of thing. And we go over that every year with the parent and the test results. I suppose you're wondering how many ELL students we have to date. Well, we just lost a few today, but we have a total of 36 ELL students in our district. We have 10 at the high school, 8 at the middle school, 13 children at Washington Elementary, 4 at Gusner Elementary, and 1 student at Roosevelt Elementary. We have different levels. Like Joan said, level 1 is the newcomers or immigrants to our country that don't know English. We have 4 of those. Level 2, just next level up, 7. Level 3, we have 11. Level 4, we have 13. And level 5, we have 1 student that's getting ready to exit the program. And with Leah's help now at the middle school and high school, we are really going to see a great improvement on our students for the ELL program. I do believe we have 4 different languages that we serve. We can't speak those languages, but we do hire translators, as you probably have seen before, so that we can speak to the parents or the guardian of the ELL student.
Swahili, Somali, Spanish, and Vietnamese.
Bob?
Where do you see the numbers going? Do you get, I guess that, and the other thing is if do social service organizations, do they let you know a little bit in advance that kids might be coming, or just bang, they're at the doorstep?
Yep, they just show up. We haven't seen the big influx like the Fargos or Bismarcks or whatever, but we have a steady flow of ELL students.
We're pretty consistent lately, I think. We've had many leave. It seems like if a couple leave, we may get a couple, come in, so it's pretty level.
And the students are really eager to learn English. I mean, they really want the help. Leah's going to start homework help before school in the morning so that they can get their homework done. I know they offer here at the middle school after-school homework help, and so there's a lot of opportunities for our kids, and they're taking advantage of those.
Do the older ones or the younger ones grasp the English language better, or doesn't younger ones better? Okay.
If we get them in at kindergarten, it's like yay.
Okay.
The whole classroom, that's what it all is. It's just
Yep.
English.
Yeah, we got a newcomer, a little kindergarten student this year. Didn't know any English at all. Came in as a newcomer, no English. He right now is at a level 4. So,
Fantastic.
yeah.
It's awesome.
Rob or Mindy?
That's what I was going to ask. What's the average cycle for a student? How many, is it a year or 2 years before they graduate out of level 5?
It's probably more like, I'd say a good maybe 4, depending on where they come in, what level they're at when they come, how old they are. Yeah.
More of our Somali parents have moved and don't stay as long. Our Hispanic population seems to stay a little bit longer. You notice on that sheet, too, at the bottom, I don't track this, but Amy, I think, does, is the migrant form on there, too. This year we had more migrant families coming to work at the potato plant, too, so we do track that. French fry.
French fry.
Okay.
Rob, you had a comment?
I was just going to comment, and just as a reminder for the board members too, we were talking about levels 1 through 5. Just a reminder that we get funded from the state for levels 1, 2, and 3. Although we have 14 students that are levels 4 or 5, we don't get funding for those students. And that is something that we're working on trying to rectify. We have 1.5 FTE devoted to ELL students, and all 5 of those levels have requirements that we need to meet, and in my mind, funding should follow those students. If we have responsibilities to educate our ELL population, those should be funded also. The funding we get for our ELL students, we have 1.5 FTE staff here with Leah and Joan, and it probably covers 0.1 of the 1.5 FTE, if that. So we have a little bit of work to do to better support the program from a state level, but we'll get there.
Greg, you had a comment first, then Heidi?
Yeah, just a question. I was looking at your form. Is there something special that you have to do, like with this question 7, when you're asking about Native American or Alaskan Native student? Is there a reason why that has to be identified?
Yeah, that came from one of the state recommendations to put on there. To tell you the truth, I don't know why it's on there, but Carrie Whipple is the one that kind of looked over our forms, and we needed to have that on there.
And just follow up to that, in doing this process, do you run into any cultural issues that you have to try to work through as well? I know in some of the classes there might be some cultural things and how people act and react and how they treat, but have you ever had to deal with that?
I know a recent example at the high school, and I hope this is addressing your question, dealt with the dissecting of a pig that they do in 10th grade. The Muslim students, a few of them, were concerned about touching the pig, and I did some research on my own time and found out that the official Muslim standing on that is that you cannot touch it directly, but we did find a way that if the students were still not comfortable with that, or if they interpreted it differently or whatever, to have them do it on a computer program so that they would not have to touch the pig. So we do run into cultural differences from time to time, yes.
Heidi?
I'm just going to go back to the funding thing. It just seems so backwards to me that they come in at a lower level, and we have our excellent staff doing exactly what they're supposed to, advancing these students up to that level 4, 5, and 6, and you get paid less, or not at all. So it sort of seems like you should get paid more for, if you're doing a really good job, and as you are, and moving these students along, it's almost like you should get paid for that versus the opposite. So hopefully some of that funding will get worked out.
I'll add another layer to that. We actually put the levels in the beginning of the year, as they were talking about. We get paid, or we get assessed on where they're at the end of the year. So when these staff do a great job in moving a student from level 1 to level 2 over the course of the year, we actually get paid less because they're at a level 2 at the end of the year. So although we've spent the resources for a level 1 student, it's actually everything is funded from behind, so a year behind. So we actually get funded less when we do a good job and get them out of that level 1 to 2. So it even happens year to year, not just the long term, as you're suggesting too.
Or talk to Bismarck, one of the two. Any other questions for him, or?
One thing I do want to add, we haven't bought any curriculum for the ELL program. We've bought like novels and stuff in Mandarin and Spanish textbooks and so on. But maybe soon in the future, we'll come to you for approval on some curriculum that the ladies can use in their program. So hopefully you'll.
It'll be in their bills next month.
All right. Well, there you go.
Next meeting.
So thank you in advance.
Yep, thanks for coming.
Thanks. Thank you.
Oh, Terry? You gotta go.
It says on the agenda that it's a ELL and homeless report.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I'm next.
Go there
excuse me.
right
I'm sorry, I didn't see you. I thought you were
I
leaving.
just have to change my hat real quick. All right. Okay, homeless is really making a forefront now. Amy did give me the board policy, and it was adopted in '08. I think we're going to have to relook at that in the near future. I am the district representative liaison for the homeless here at Jamestown Public Schools. I'm currently going to take an 8-hour course or 8-week course on the guidelines and so on with the homeless. So we'll probably look at changing that board policy in the near future. Just FYI on that. Again, federal guideline is we have to have a housing survey. And so we came up with a housing survey that anybody who registers fills out this kind of survey. We did concentrate on just the elementary this year, so every student also has that in their permanent record file too of their housing survey. It might look a little offensive as you look at it, but that came directly from the federal government, and it might be like you're infringing on my personal and why I live and where I live. But we only had about 3 or 4 calls of concerning parents that didn't want to fill out the form, and it's, that was their choice, and we did not say you had to. We just told them that it was a federal guideline, and if they would, if they wouldn't, then that's fine. I do get those then back, or copies of them, and I kind of research to see where our students are living, if there's anything that I need to be aware of to inform the school or the district of a homeless child. I do want to tell you, though, that the definitions of homeless, you're probably thinking like I was, living in a shelter, living in your car, and that would be homeless. We don't have any shelters here in Jamestown, but the whole realm of homeless is children that are living in other people, their family living with another family in their home, which is also called doubling up. So we do have quite a few children that are living in multi-family homes. The guideline that we use is, do they have an appropriate place to sleep? Do they have an appropriate place for their things? Now, if they're sleeping on the floor, that would be something to raise concern about, and we'd have to investigate that. If they have a bed to sleep in, then that's considered that they are, comfortable and taken care of. I want to use myself as an example. When I came here 7 years ago, my children and I lived with my mom and dad. Okay, that would be considered doubling up. But my children had a bed to sleep in, so we weren't considered homeless. So if you can kind of see the difference with that. So that's one area. Also, living in motels is another area of concern if families are living in hotels, meaning they don't have a permanent residence. Campgrounds. We did have some children living in the campgrounds at the beginning of the year, but that was just until their house was getting built or whatever. So we don't jump right away to say, oh my gosh, you're homeless because you're living in a camper. We investigated that. Like I said, shelters. If they are abandoned at hospitals or they're waiting foster care is another area of homeless too that we would investigate. Also, we have mentioned children living in cars, living in the park, or public space, abandoned buildings that is not suitable for a house are also under the homeless umbrella. But I do look at, and I talk to the families about if it's appropriate house, is the child sleeping in a bed with 5 other brothers and sisters? That's some of the things that we investigate and we can look into. As of December, we had a total of the year of 6 homeless children in our school district. And to the date now, we only have 2 because some of them have moved away. 4 of those students were quoted homeless due to fire and that kind of thing. So we did help those families out as well. Some of the things that we provide for children that are homeless, we provide transportation to get to school. It's also stated that children should remain in their neighborhood school. They should remain in the school that they attended before they became homeless. So let's say they're living across town and they were going to Gustner Elementary. We provide transportation to get them to Gustner School because that's their school. We also have provided transportation for families to get to sporting events, to get to concerts, to get to special things that their children are participating in school. We have given taxi vouchers, and that's so that the families can see their children perform. That's one of the regulations of that. We also provide any kind of services they are entitled to. Title I, small group help. If they are entitled to special education, we continue to provide that. Gifted and talented program, any fees or any things that they need to pay to be in a club or in a organization, we would take care of that under our homeless as well. After school programs, we would provide that too if that's something that they needed to participate in. Also, we provide free meals for them at school, breakfast and lunch. If they're considered homeless, we do provide free lunch and breakfast. Once you are quoted homeless by us, you stay with that code for a whole calendar year. So if I became homeless today, I would stay homeless until February 1st of the next year. Even though I got back on my feet and got my family a house and so on, we still track those students and monitor, make sure that everything is okay and they have the ability to provide things for their children so that they have the same opportunity as children that don't have a home. Okay, that's about all I have. Like I said, more things are going to come after we take this 8-week course. So.
Heidi?
I have a question. I know you have the survey and so forth. So what sort of process do we have in place that midway through a year, after you've gotten the survey and said, oh, I have a home, everything's fine, that circumstances change for a child or a family? What's that process if a teacher identifies something?
Exactly. We work real closely with our counseling staff and our social workers. They're the main ones that, speak to the children and the children feel comfortable talking to them. And if a counselor, has come across a situation of, a student that became homeless or someone that just came to our district, like has happened just a couple weeks ago, they call me or they'll call Amy and we'll get, to investigate, talk to the parent, which is a very touchy situation because you don't really want to, infringe on, their humility or whatever, but we just have to make sure that we handle it very carefully and try to get the information that we want to help them, to provide clothing for them, to, transportation, the meals, point them into the direction of, Human Service Center or some other agencies here in town. The Salvation Army has been wonderful to help them and so on. So it's just kind of a network that we kind of do, but the counselors and social workers do an awesome job.
Any other questions? Greg?
The budgeting for this, where does that come from? Maybe I missed it in the beginning.
I don't know that. That would be Sally's part.
It comes out of the Title I. And there's different methods, so each year we assess it. The last couple of years we have done it, per homeless student. It's whopping $500 per student. So
we do have like an emergency child fund where we can go buy clothing for them, winter gear, that kind of stuff. And is that what it's called?
Yeah, we have an emergency clothing fund, but the Title I funds for the homeless that are designated for that do not cover all the costs. But
right.
Diane?
Yes, our number seems very low, which is great. What I'm wondering is, unless I have this wrong, that low number would include any child staying in a motel, in a foster home, doubling up with another family. Mm-hmm. And so the low number is pretty impressive that that's not happening. Do you think you're missing children?
Yes. Not a great amount of children. Like I said, we just kind of concentrate on the elementary right now. We do have some families, like I said, that are doubling up, but they have a sufficient place to sleep. We do make sure that they have school supplies through the school. no matter if they're homeless or not, we provide for any child, backpacks, whatever they need, clothing. And it changes a lot. Like, they might go live with this family for a while, and something happens, and they might go live with somebody else for a while. But we do keep an eye on those children, just to make sure that they are clean, that they're healthy, and they have the things that they need.
Any other questions for him? None? Thanks for coming. So, moving to number 4, superintendent's report. Rob?
Yeah, I have a few things to talk about. The first thing that was in my report was we had a naming request for our wrestling room. A gentleman, Marlon Schlager, came and made that request to Mr. Roldson, who directed the individual to me. In the request, basically, Wes Charbonneau was the very first wrestling coach in Jamestown. Marlon was one of his wrestlers, and him and a number of other individuals that were coached by Mr. Charbonneau felt like that would be a fitting honor for Mr. Charbonneau. We shared with him our board policy on naming requests, that it is a board decision that takes 6 to 12 months in terms of a decision on that. There are 3 criteria. He addressed those criteria in his letter, and you can look at that specific request. And like I said, I did share that policy with him. He drafted his statement, including those criteria. So he did want me to pass along that if the naming would be something the board is looking to do, that consider the health of Wes's wife. She would like to be present if that does happen. So I'm just passing that along for now. That's by policy a board decision. So I'm sharing that with now, and we can talk direction as far as how you want me to proceed. Moving on, the high school principal hiring schedule. Later on, you will be asked to review the letter of resignation for Mr. Bill Nold. And I have a tentative schedule set forth for that hiring schedule and guidelines. Just to touch on a few things, we're looking at posting tomorrow, assuming that's approved, and give that 30 days to review candidates, select finalists, interview the candidates sometime between March 7th and March 16th. I'd hope that could move faster, but giving ample time to consider people's schedules. Have the interview committee meet and review the candidates finally, and then the superintendent recommendation at the board meeting on the 17th, or excuse me, on the 21st. I would like to follow the same interview plan that we've used with our previous administrative positions. That includes myself, another central office representative, administrative peer, in this case 2 high school teachers, 2 board members, for a total of 7. That interview committee really of different stakeholders gives a real good sense of perspective. I think everybody brings something different to the table. You don't want it to be so large that it's unmanageable, but you want it to be representative of some different perspectives. And then that group works with me, gathers some feedback. I do a one-on-one. I think there's a lot of value to doing that one-on-one exit interview is what I call them. Gives me a chance to ask some questions, 20, 30 minutes. I think it's a very valuable exercise. And then that would, that group helps me determine who we move forward with a recommendation. And of course, it's a board decision. The board hires. But that would be a recommendation from central office. In the past, I think 2 board members have served. I believe in the most 2 recent cycles, that's been Diane and Gail. I believe with Peg and Gail, that was also the case, correct? So, that's not my decision to choose. But for those that have already expressed some interest in doing that, or if you haven't and you would like to, please let Roger or me know. And if there's more than 2 of you, which there already have been, we'll have to just make, Roger will have to make some choices. But I think there's a we're excited about that possibility and moving forward. Superintendent evaluation, I've included the form that you've used in the past. I would recommend that for those going to the superintendent or the School Boards Association training here in February, they'll have a day on superintendent evaluation. Maybe bring some things back and improve the process. One of the things that Roger and I have been talking about is something that we do similar to how we do our board meeting assessment survey. Maybe there's something we can do that feeds into a larger process every meeting. So there's the immediacy of what happens at a meeting. I really like this, or I wish we could have done this, and that feeds into a larger database. So when we do give an evaluation, that response is thoughtful, that response is indicative of what people think, and it isn't just this is what I felt today. So I'm going to, fill out my 1 or my 4 or whatever the number is. So really getting, as we've talked about before, that coaching for growth, really getting that feedback to help me improve every year. So I think anything we can do in that process really helps me. Just to touch on the Red Cross shelter agreement that should be acting on later, I included the agreement in the agenda. If you have questions about what that would look like, if that were to be considered, really what happens is the Red Cross would come in and say, okay, we have this level of need. It's not just the school that's part of a shelter in a community our size. It'd be a number of different places. And they might look and say, okay, Jamestown High School is the place. So then we would enter into an agreement at that time. Basically right now what we're saying is we'd be willing to serve in that capacity for our community if need be. Like I said, it could be the Civic Center, it could be Gustner Elementary, whatever the facility that's needed, and then the terms go through what would be expected from Red Cross and how that would work. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't move forward with being a shelter for the Red Cross. But unless you have questions, that is my report.
Any questions, Rob? I have one with that, naming the wrestling room. Do we want to, is there an urgency for that, or you want to come back with a recommendation or for that, or?
Well, I think I've asked Mr. Rolton to touch base with the wrestling, the wrestling coaches and get some feedback there. I believe the reason for the 6 to 12 months is perspective gathering.
No rash decisions or?
Correct.
Okay.
But again, that request was that if we're moving towards that direction, consider the health of Mrs. Charbonneau was the request.
Okay.
And really, it's up to the board and how you'd like me to proceed. If you'd like me to investigate, bring a recommendation, or if you'd like Mr. Rolton to do that, that's really up to the board.
Gail?
I remember Mr. Charbonneau, but I do not remember how long he was the wrestling coach, and I don't see that in here. And I think that's an important piece of that information. I mean, he was the first one, but if he was only the coach for 3 years, and I have no idea how many years Greg White was. I'm throwing that out as an example. And if Greg White was a coach for 30 years, and then Wes Charbonneau was for 3, I kind of want to have a little more information on how long he was there.
We can certainly gather some more information. Just I don't believe we're in a hurry that we have to make a decision in the next board meeting or so. I think we do need to be respectful of both the request to expedite, but also the policy that states 6 to 12 months. It is there for a reason to make sure that if we're going to go that far and name a facility that it's appropriate for our community.
Absolutely. Any other questions for Rob? None. Moving to old business. Any old business? Hearing none. Moving to new business. We have nothing under activities. Number 2, buildings and grounds. Is there a motion to approve the American Red Cross shelter agreement? Motion by Mindy, seconded by Bob. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have nothing under curriculum, Finance. Under Personnel, we have letter A. Is there a motion to approve the letter of the resignation of William Nold, high school principal, as of June 30th, 2016? Motion by Brenda, seconded by Gail. Any discussion? Oh, Bob? With regret?
He's been in the district for, I think, close to 30 years as a football coach, assistant principal, and certainly big shoes to fill.
Business machines.
What's that?
Business machines teacher.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving to letter B, we have the superintendent's evaluation planning. As you can see on the drive there, we have, or on the superintendent's report there, where's it at? Yeah, the timeline there. So if we, and I'm actually going to Bismarck to look at that evaluation. So we'll be coming back with some other information as far as doing the next evaluation differently or whatever. So I don't know, you going, Brenda, too? Or yeah, Bob's going too. Gail?
I loved your idea of us, no offense, this meeting thing at the end, or we're not doing it. But if we had some things to say about you, Rob, I think that'd be awesome. And then if I could get to them that twice a year, like, hey, this is what you said, Gail, and then I could do my evaluation from that, I think that'd be awesome.
Oh, it definitely helps him out because it's, I mean, cumulative going through the year versus.
Well, it helps us out
Yep,
too, and so
absolutely.
when was that? Or, yeah.
Yep. So I think we'll get that and then move forward and drop a new one. So. Okay. Policy and procedures. Motion for a second reading of the medication authorization. Motion by Greg, seconded by Terry. By Terry. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Nothing under tuitions. Items for future agenda. The last meeting, Heidi brought up that ad hoc committee on the transportation. Do you want to chair that with another member to meet with them? And
I actually think, Gail had some real good questions.
Mike?
Gail had some excellent questions and excellent points that she brought up. And I think maybe, I don't know how soon we need to start move forward with this, but I think we probably do need to look at what other districts are doing and just do some comparisons and those kinds of things and evaluate.
No, I think
this. So,
I think she put you on the bus, Gail. She put you on the bus with her. So if you two want to take care of that, then you guys can meet with them and. Okay,
Well,
and then with Rob too.
And
Yeah.
Sally and I, of course, would
So,
want to be a part of that.
okay. Any other items for future agenda? Hearing none. Moving to meetings to be scheduled. We have superintendent evaluation and negotiation seminar next Thursday and Friday, February 11th and 12th in Bismarck. We have the school board meeting Monday, February 15th at 5:15 here in the Thompson Room. We have the Health Insurance Committee on Monday, February 8th at 3:30 in the District Office Conference Room. What's that one? Health meeting's been moving to the 16th of February. And you had something, Heidi?
yeah, Mr. President, I'd like to also reflect that the Southeast Education Cooperative meeting is February 24th at 6 p.m. in Castleton.
Yes.
And so if any board members have anything they'd like to take to that, we're going to be, I think, looking at some of the new policies for setting up the new organization. So.
Okay. Thanks, Heidi. No other business. I just remind you to right-click on your adjournment and assess the meeting, and meeting adjourned.